Good Thursday, everybody. I'm just kind of poking along here. What do we got there? Yeah, that's not the knife I want. I want this one. It's a little more flexible. I'm just kind of cutting around my shapes on the lower left, as you can see. Getting it established. I've got the water in now, as you can see. Well, no, that's not true. I don't have the water in. I've got a ways to go. Let's just say the water is covered or painted in. But it's not done yet. You could say the first stage of it is done. And seeing as I'm using a knife, I'm not worried too much. Well, actually, even if it was a brush, I wouldn't be worried about it. But I'm not worrying too much about different direction of stroke right now. I'm going to lay in that later. You know, up here it's laid in, but down here I'll take care of it if it needs taken care of. Excuse me. But I'd like to get a coat of oil paint on here so that I can go back in, oh yeah, with more oil paint. Okay, I've cut around that. I think I'd like to raise the value right off of here as well, a little bit. Oh, I'm putting wet paint over wet paint. That's kind of hard with a knife. It's hard in this case with a knife. Anyway, blather. See, I'm not trying to make a mirror reflection from this poke of land here onto the water. I just like to indicate that there's something darker across here, so it's getting picked up just a little bit down here. Not a big deal. It's just, it is happening, so I want to acknowledge it. And above all, it's about the painting. It's about the painting. Okay, I have some grooming to do there. All the water needs grooming, you know, all of it. In fact, it's not just the water. I have, in painting in these trees, I have already painted them earlier. Now I've laid lighter stuff over top on them. Painted in these rocks, obviously. From here on to the left, I've left that alone. That's going to take a lot of playing tiny little strokes, and I'm not going to do that on film. I'll clean that up when you're not around sometime. But the rocks, as you can see, I took some of these colors and used them on the rocks. You know, I went a little grayer as well. Put them on the shadow side of the rocks, for the most part. And the water in general is gray because we are in general under a gray sky. That works. It wouldn't have to be. You could make it blue too because the water might be reflecting what's behind us if the wave pattern were such, right? If the waves sit like this, it's reflecting stuff that's behind you. If the waves are like that, you know, if they're going like that, then it's taking these grays and reflecting the grays back there on the other side. But if we're under a gray sky, if the waves are like this, doesn't matter. Everything you see is going to be grayish. I think that was a fruitless bit of information because I'm sure you already know all that stuff. Yeah, I think you go beyond that, and all that is semantics. There's no reason to pursue any kind of idealism that way. Go into nature and you can see such a multitude of variations that it's not going to matter. But I'm happy with it. I decided to put a little, you know, we got a little dead stump sitting here, catching a bit of light. Helps to break this up. I may still go even lighter with a bit more sparkle. on these bushes, but not yet. I'm going to decide that once I have these trees in, because although they'll be very strong, they also need to straddle that fence between strength, and it's not something I want people to pay too much attention to. It has to form a nice, it's sort of the frame for the view, the distant view. I need enough strength because they're close. I need them weak enough so they don't compete with this. Or actually the whole area, right? I think we should be okay. We should be fine. We're not worried about only one little area of interest. That would be pointless on a canvas of this size. Dee-da-dee-da. Yeah, water's in. I need to, as I say, I've laid it in now, so the meat and potatoes in, the base is in. Now we're going to put in some highlights, and that is what's going to give the water some interest and some sparkle. I can bring, I'm not going to use these colors. I'm probably just going to go with more yellow ochre, white, and just a slight tint of ultramarine blue. So we have sort of this green. It's really the green that's here already, but we're going to go more yellow ochre and more titanium white to bring in just the impression of the odd spot directly picking up light from here. And don't forget that light coming in from the right. So we can, we have, in a way, if we look at the water, we have three sources of light. Direct light onto the surface, which is coming from the upper right. We have light that could be reflecting from the rocks, which is behind it. And then much higher behind it is the light in the sky. So we can afford to tell all kinds of lies in the water. And it's all defensible. Let me just grab a little bit, just so you can see what the value difference is going to be here. See how quickly that it makes these rocks, I don't know, somehow does it anchor them to the water? Does it make the whole thing more plausible? I think all of the above, really. It's already too high a value there for the moment. I don't just want to end up with one long streak of high value. That's not healthy. If you have too drastic a leap between your between low and high values, then your highlight, your streak of high value, ends up looking like it doesn't belong to the painting. It looks a little out of place. That's a bit questionable. It's okay once it's done. It won't look quite so questionable. But this grooming bit, it does take a while. You need to put your bits of color in there in a very thoughtful way. I would like to clean up a little spot here so that I can mix something cleaner, something is not contaminated with blues. Here, let's just take a little bit of white and yellow ochre. That's way too glary, obviously, but it's a starting point. Okay. Being very finicky here. It's important. Ay. You know what I may have to do? I may have to let the paint not dry, but set a little bit for me before I actually put in much of this highlighting. Because especially here, it wants to blend into the paint that I have behind it. Anyway, that gives you some idea of still it's just a little speck here, but it gives you some idea of how much more presence it'll give once I've laid a speck in here, a bit of a line across here, probably a couple down here, and then a little more on the rocks, and then bringing it up, slowly bringing up everything except for the sky. We'll call that done. Putting sparkle on the foreground. I'm calling this the foreground. I know this is the foreground. We'll call it the middle ground then, I guess. But anyway, that's going to take a bit of playing. But I think it's coming well. Let me just square off the camera. And I'm not going to zoom in because I'll save that for once we're further along, or I suppose once we're done. Yeah, that's okay. I'm going to blend a little bit more here. I'd like a line to cut across here. Oh, you know what? There are many things. I shouldn't really describe each thing because there are too many. Okay, guys. We'll talk to you soon.